you saw a movie this past weekend, and I felt bad because I didn't see it. So I actually went out and saw it, and that's A
Ooh,
Haunting in Venice.
okay.
Yeah, so I ended up going out and seeing it. All right, the third installment in this Agatha Christie Kenneth Branagh trilogy. It is the best one out of the three.
Easily.
This is the best one out of the three. But is it good? I don't know. I don't know if it's good, Doc. I don't know who's asking for this. I love a whodunit, so I guess I'm asking for a good whodunit, but I'm not asking for a Kenneth Branagh whodunit. You know, I'll start with the positives. This looked better than the other two. Okay, I think the other two, like, they had the green screen actions going on. You were in
Ugh.
Egypt, and then they're in like Austria or Turkey or whatever with the landscape, and it just was a green screen. This one, simpler setting and like a haunted house type of setting, and Venice didn't look terrible when it was shown. Um, and I think this movie wasn't asking as much from its actors than the other ones, because I think Kenneth Branagh just doesn't know how to direct actors. I really I don't think so after this trilogy. All these
Best
actors,
director, Oscar-winning Kenneth Branagh does not know how to direct
dude, these
actors.
movies, these actors are awful. They're over the top. They're very self-aware. Like, think about Thor 1. You know, that Shakespearean that we talk about? That Chris Hemsworth went so deep into Thor and that Shakespearean feel. This is the same thing. And I think it's very self-aware and formulaic. I predicted this right off the top, like the ending to this. Automatic. And the supernatural thing didn't really work for me. And I think also it's because I don't think it's spooky season yet. That might be a hot take. It's not even October. I don't think it's spooky season. So this is the best one out of the three, but I still didn't like it. I just didn't think it was bad.
I don't think it was bad, and I thought it was solid. I think I was a little more high on it than you. This franchise or this trilogy, like this set of movies from Kenneth Branagh, the Agatha Christie adaptations, uh, they needed to spice it up, and they did. Right, with this like more horror, spooky type of story, supernatural type of story. I thought definitely the Nile was super mundane. I thought the performances were not very good. I thought the movie did not look good and was clearly not set on the Nile. And I thought this one had, like we talked about with Equalizer, it's just something about when you're set in Italy, it's a different vibe. It feels more historic, right? And it feels like you're being transported a bit as an audience member. What I also liked about this one that I hated from Death on the Nile, like Death on the Nile, they like talked about Perot, like Kenneth Branagh as the main character, his background, and like try to go into like understanding his character. What I liked about this one, it's like they just built it into the story. They didn't spend too much time talking about it. It was kind of an afterthought, right? They kind of built in that he's had this dark past. He is haunted by his own ghosts, but it built into the story. I thought it was fine. I don't think the acting was that bad either, to be honest. I thought some of it was pretty predictable. It's always a star-studded cast with these Agatha Christie adaptations, but like Michelle Yeoh, she is a big name actress. She's an Oscar winner, a recent Oscar winner. Like, do we really think she's going to stick around for the entirety of this movie? In that regard, it's very predictable. Jamie Dornan, just like, I don't know, just shaking in his boots the entire time, really didn't bring much to the table for a guy who was nominated for an Oscar under Kenneth Branagh. He was nominated, no?
Are you talking about Belfast?
Yeah, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
Okay, but he was great in Belfast. There's no denying that.
He was
If you
good.
argue that, you're out of your mind.
He's
But
good. He's good. He's good.
them reuniting, I thought was nice. It was cool to see. Tina Fey, she did the Tina Fey thing. Like she also,
okay.
when you have like the dark and spookiness, I thought she had some good comedic like quips, that she like came up with during this movie. I thought actually there was some good comic relief in this movie. What I thought the story did wrong is where whodunits go wrong. It's the over layering at the end of a movie where it's like the big reveal, and then there's another layer that you got to unpeel, and then there's another layer you got to unpeel, and by that time I'm like, you've lost me with the story. It's all about the writing. That's what makes Knives Out so good with the recent Rian Johnson movies, and the cast performs even better. But I don't think it was bad. Definitely the best in the franchise. Solid time at the theater. I mean, I plowed through popcorn before I even got through the trailer, so I wasn't feeling too good. Then I got a second like bucket of popcorn because I was starving, and I blew through that one too. I guess that tells me it was a pretty entertaining ride.
Yeah. I just it's shocking that the cast that he gets. You just named a bunch of names. Kelly Riley, now of Yellowstone fame. But again,
Was
like
that Megan Fahey? Was Megan Fahey like the woman in this? Is that the girl from White Lotus season 2?
oh,
Or is that the Kelly Riley?
Kelly
That's
Riley, the mom, is in this.
that's the slut from
Yes,
Yellowstone.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
Slut, yeah,
She was
yeah,
pretty good. She was pretty good.
yeah, not bad. Again, this is the best acted movie out of the three, and it's shocking to say that because let's look back on these casts that were in this trilogy. Murder on the Orient Express. By the way, this is a remake of a Best Picture winner. Okay.
Sidney Lumet.
Penelope Cruz, Judi Dench, Willem Dafoe, Johnny Depp, Daisy Ridley, Leslie Odom Jr., Josh Gad. Take it for what it is, but that's a name. They're all Murder on the Orient Express. What a cast! And Kenneth Branagh. And then you have Death on the Nile, Russell Brand, Armie Hammer, Gal Gadot, Letitia Wright,
Emma Mackey.
Kenneth Branagh. Sorry?
Emma Mackey.
A bunch of names. Like they just like Kenneth Branagh. People just want to work with him. They respect him, and yes, I respect him too. But in this Agatha Christie type of formula, where there's 12 people, there's going to be 3 deaths, and there's going to be pretty much you're going to know who did it at the end. But pretty early on in the movie, it's shocking. It's very shocking that people still want to do these movies. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of talk. Is there going to be another one? Because Agatha Christie, like Tina Fey is basically Agatha Christie in this, right? She's done a lot of books, a lot of successful books, similar to Tina Fey in this movie. Is there going to be another one? Or is they going to stop with the trilogy? I kind of hope they stop with the trilogy and they get someone else to do it.
I hated the motive for the Tina Fey character in this movie. That's where I lost a little bit of interest. Where I'm like, okay, this is kind of dumb. when there's like a big reveal regarding her and another character in this film. I thought acting wise also, the kid was basically young Sheldon set in like a whodunit like horror movie. He actually wasn't that bad, but I hated what they did with his character at the end. You know, he has one really great monologue where I'm like, oh crap, this guy might grow up to be an incredible actor. You know, he had one amazing monologue, spooky monologue that had me hook, line, and sinker one-on-one with Kenneth Branagh. I was really impressed by it. But yeah, I just kept thinking of young Sheldon, right, set in a haunted Venice movie. I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird, like a haunted house type of situation. But yeah, the thing about these movies, like, yes, some parts are predictable, but then I think the writers recognize that. And that's when they keep adding layers where it's like, you couldn't have guessed this. You couldn't have guessed this. And that's where I felt like the movie went, where it kind of went to an absurd realm by the end of it, you know? And that's where I think the fatal flaw kind of was. But I agree. Like, I thought the cinematography was good. They did some shaky camera stuff, right? The cool, like, interesting stuff with the camera. Usually don't see with a whodunit type of movie, kind of incorporating some horror elements. It just shook up the franchise. And by the end of this one, I think we might be getting another.
Yeah, because I do agree with you. Like, good camera work. They changed it up. It wasn't the same type of style as the previous two. That's what you need. That's what you got to do in this like IP era. You're gonna have a trilogy, a franchise. You got to make things different. And this was like, even though it was formulaic, like I mentioned, typical Agatha Christie. I can't say Agatha. They still changed it up in a visual sense, which is really good. And again, with the main character, Kenneth Branagh, they changed it up as well, which I liked. So I just think they need to keep doing something different until something kind of sticks. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that
keep shaking it up. Like okay, like Murder on the Orient Express, Murder on a Train. Only a certain amount of people could have done it. Strong cast. Like, we've seen that a zillion times. Okay.
Right.
Death on the Nile. Like, the title of the goddamn movie. It's like, I've seen that 100 times, you know?
Right.
The Haunting in Venice, like, released at this time, I think it works. All right. Just shaking it up. That's what we need. And I don't know what they do later on, like, for this franchise. I'm not really interested in seeing another one. I don't care if they do another one, but it seems like it's trending in the right direction if they just want to keep churning these out. And I always like the actors that appear in them. They just don't really get the shine that you might see in like one of Ryan Johnson's movies. And I actually was thinking about, if we reviewed this, Ricky Flicks, I was gonna like say let's draft or rank the best whodunits of the 21st century, and it's really a lackluster category for the last 20 years. You know,
Yeah.
when you think of like the Ryan Johnson movies, he's like trying to reinvigorate this type of genre. And, like, those movies just are not made anymore. But I love being wrong all the time, guessing who did the frickin' crime, because I never get it right. I might get an aspect of the crime right, but I'll never guess the entire thing. And that's why I appreciate these movies. Like, I will always at some point be like, ooh, you know, I'll just be like, I didn't see that coming. You know, I'll tip my head like, ooh, well done, you know?
Yeah, tip your hat. Like, good job. Like, I rewatched Murder on the Orient Express before I saw this, and I definitely did not rewatch Death in the Nile. But I rewatched Clue. I rewatched Clue before this just to see like what it was like, you know, like what who done it, you know. Yes, that's obviously off of IP board game, but again, like it's not my favorite movie, but that's a classic, enjoyable movie, you know, a mix of who actually did it and comedy. That I think
Oh,
that a
yeah.
lot of whodunits try to match and they don't in the 21st century. They can never achieve that Clue-like level of balance. And balance, I think, is a stretch a little bit with Clue. A little definitely leans more on the comedic side. But honestly, I like Clue. I think Clue's a good movie. I think we need more clues, to be honest, in this day and age.
Keep the audience guessing, right? We need more clues. And I think, imagine seeing, I always thought like, okay, what are good movies like I would travel in a time machine to go see in a theater? And like opening night, I think Clue would be awesome because it's a whodunit that has three different endings. And like, imagine like you see the first ending, you're like, I guessed it. Like, that's the exact ending. And then it rewinds, and then you go see another ending. You're like, oh my God, what a different perspective. And then it goes back a third time. And it's like you debate with your friends, you go back to the bar and you're like, which ending did you like best? I think that changed the game with the whodunit, you know? I would love to do a throwback of Clue, but if I traveled in the DeLorean to go see a movie opening night again, one of those would be Clue. And I don't know if many people have thought about that. I think that's a pretty fire take, Ricky Flicks.
Well, I think you kind of just took my take and just put it on a different stratosphere. But like going back in time, pick any movie, like a top five. I'm guessing you're saying, or a top 10.
Probably
And
top 10, you know, like it's not like Clue is a good movie, a solid movie,
all right.
but it's like it's not about, it's not like going to see like Empire Strikes Back with a line around the block. This one's more about just the theater experience being wowed, like, oh my God, look at us. We're gonna like redo this again, and then we're gonna redo it again. You might be getting pissed off, honestly. You might, like, I don't even know if like I would embrace that moment, but I'd be like, I've never seen this before in a movie.
And Clue, box office. It's kind of hurt your take, but I think we got to mention it since you said it. Did 15 million at the box office,
Right.
equaling its budget. Became a cult classic after that, though.
It is, yeah, 100% a cult classic, and that's why it's different than like the Empire Strikes Back take, or like going to see Back to the Future, or going to see Jurassic Park with like a packed theater. It's more about the movie you're watching itself than just the experience with all these people. You know what I mean?
Yes, whodunits are great in a theater with a bunch of people. My theater with Haunting in Venice, there were 7 other people in the theater with me.
Yeah, no, I had the same numbers, but I saw it like on a Tuesday
I
night.
saw it in Dolby
Why would you do that?
because like that was the only time I could make to fit it in, and it was only a Dolby theater and A-lister. Shout out A-list. It was free, so it didn't matter.
So I guess as we wrap this up, we pretty much just did a review. Do you have a score?
I went 61.
Okay, I'm a 68. So it's like we're kind of in the same ballpark. I just think a little bit more highly of Haunting in Venice. Great titles. Like, dude, Murder on the Orient Express, obviously a remake, but like Death on the Nile seems like the title of a classic, you know? And then A Haunting in Venice. Just fire
It's a great
titles
title.
that really, really intrigues the audience.